students, in today's lecture we'll be looking at the delivery aspect of public speaking. So, at the conclusion of this lecture, I would like you to know the methods of delivery, understand speaking context at that delivery, understand purpose for using note cards and ways to effectively use note cards. I would also like you to understand what good delivery is and the components of good delivery, as well as understanding the different types of physical delivery. So, let's look at some of the different types of delivery. The first is impromptu speaking, speaking without advanced preparation. So, essentially with impromptu speaking, you might be given a topic, given a few minutes to jot a few notes on what you might want to say, and then you go up and you present the speech. So it's just limited preparation, hardly any preparation is what an impromptu speech is. Extemporaneous speaking is carefully planned speech that is spoken in a conversational manner with a few notes. Essentially, with extemporaneous speaking, it's like the speaking that we do today in our classroom. We just speak, we have a fully prepared outline, we just kind of use that outline to kind of prepare a speech, and then we get up in front of a crowd and we speak and we have a little bit of notes. And it's kind of in a conversational manner. So that's essentially what an extemporaneous speech is. Speaking for manuscript. Speaker essentially uses their script while speaking to the audience. It's important when something needs to be said with the exact words. Now, I am very, very against manuscript speaking, and the reason being is because when you do manuscript speaking, you can lose your credibility, you are losing your eye contact, you don't have any. With manuscript speaking, it's hard to have effective delivery, and it just makes you less credible, and it's probably not the ideal type of speaking, but it can be needed if necessary, but it's not recommended. Memorized speaking, which is my favorite type of speaking because that's the type of speaker I am. It's basically where the speaker recites speech in their memory. And with me, I will just memorize the whole entire outline. Yep, I memorize it all. And then I'll just get up in front of the crowd and I'll just recite it, and I can remember it. So I don't know how I do it, but I do. I would strongly encourage you to try to memorize your speech as much as possible, because the more you can memorize it, the more credibility you'll gain. Your audience will see you as reliable and credible, and your audience will see that you really took the time to fully prepare your speech. So I recommend it. It's not necessary, but try to challenge yourself. Like maybe try to step away from the using of note cards, or try to look at them less, or try to do little challenges, because all the more challenges, the better public speaker you will become. So, speaking context that affect delivery. Lecterns can affect delivery. Lecterns can allow the speaker to step away from the lectern and establish more contact with the audience and use hands and gestures. However, nervous people may grip on it or hide behind the lectern. I think lecterns can affect you in a way that, like, sometimes might grip or might look down your nose, so they really don't allow you to engage and acknowledge your audience as much. I strongly recommend that you step away from the lectern and use that space, because the more you use that space, the more engaging and interactive you can be with your audience, and that is important in order to develop an effective speech. Speaking in a smaller, large space can also affect your delivery. Large space, especially when you're speaking in a large lecture hall, you might want to either speak slowly but not too slowly, where you're going to run out of time, but speak a little so your audience can remember your information, and use large visuals and gestures in good volume, because your audience who's standing in the background might not be able to see your visuals and gestures, so make sure you really bring your hands up, show a large visual aid, and also have good volume, not too loud like you're screaming at your audience, just good volume, not through I'm breathing here. In small space, carefully manage note cards. Maybe try to have them near the lectern or have them hidden somewhere so your audience doesn't see them. and also have good visual aids, not too overbearing like you would in a large lecture, but good enough so that your audience can see them. Speaking outdoors, this may happen if you're giving an award or maybe you're giving some kind of commencement speech. It can lead to distractions, like you might hear people talking, you might hear the wind, you might hear other sounds. So try to focus on the mood rather than information. Try to focus on what mood is your audience in you. Are they distracted? Are they tired? Are they bored? Try to look for those little verbal or non-verbal cues from the audience. That'll help you to see where you need to go with your delivery and with your message. Microphone can cause mumbling. Clip-on microphones can be ideal for your speech, so like the type of microphones you see on news people. It is always best, and even with any visual aid or anything you use, it is best to practice to make sure you got it down to a T and that you know how to use it effectively. And audience size is also important. It also affects delivery. If you have a large, it can make you nervous or it can make you maybe not speak loud enough so your audiences will understand. So even if the small group, too, it can also affect delivery. So that's why it's important to also kind of know your audience and size so you can better effectively prepare for your speech. Alright, purpose of note cards and tips for using notes. Note cards add to your credibility as a speaker, but I also think, yes, it does add to your credibility, and that allows you to recall information, allows you to remember information, so that you can gain your credibility. However, I also think it hinders your credibility, in that you might not be looking at the audience, which can cause you to lose some credibility, and it shows also that when you use too many note cards that you're not as prepared. So that's why it is important to look at the audience, look at your notes, look at your audience, look at your notes. Tips for using notes effectively. One is to include only keywords that will help you with confirmation. Just include some keywords that you know will help trigger your memory. Another is to hold an acronym naturally. Just hold them naturally in your hand. Don't bend them. Don't start fidgeting with them. Just hold them naturally in your hands. Prepare notes to trigger recall, which is what I said before about using those keywords. Just kind of whatever is going to help you to recall, write it down, but only briefly. Just write it down. Don't write your whole speech. And using note cards effectively is also important. Don't put your whole speech on a note card. Just have a few little points, and that's all you need. Because if you have too much, you're going to rely more on the outline. You're going to lose credibility because you don't show eye contact. So make sure that you include less is best on note cards. Always practice when using note cards, and any visual aid you plan to use. Always practice your note cards and so you can see how you can look at the audience and look at your notes effectively, so it creates an effective speech and that your audience is credible. Know how to effectively use them, and planning it and preparing is needed. And visual aids are also important. Make sure the visual aid is big enough. Make sure the visual aid is appropriate enough. Make sure the visual aid will suit the audience. All those things. So what exactly is good delivery? Well, it's the process of presenting a message in a clear and interesting way. And it also is conveying the speaker's ideas clearly without any distractions in the audience. So, good delivery, good public speech is two-sided. Yes, it's the verbal message, but it's also the nonverbal message. The way that you deliver your message also helps pull the audience in and helps keep them interested. It's not just your verbal message that keeps them interested, it's also your delivery that pulls them in. So public speaking and effective public speaking is two-sided. It relies on the verbal message and it relies on how you deliver that verbal message. And it also helps, good delivery also conveys the speaker's ideas clearly without the distraction of the audience. So when you don't hear cell phones ringing or you don't hear students whispering with her, that is also something also that helps create effective delivery. It's when you don't hear those little distractions. So let's now look at some of the components to good delivery. The first is conversational style. Speakers' ability to sound natural and expressive. Just sound natural. Be yourself. Have a conversation with your audience. Just take it as a conversation you would with a friend and just kind of roll with it. Treat it like a conversation. Treat them as humans. Eye contact is also very important. Speakers' ability to have contact with and acknowledge the whole audience. When you show eye contact, you're showing that you're not only acknowledging the audience, but you're also showing that you have credibility and trustworthiness. And that is important in order for an audience to take your message seriously. Paralanguage is how we use our voices to communicate, such as speaking soft or loud. So maybe if you were doing some kind of speech on jazz, you might go, "Look, a shark!" That could be saying it loudly a little bit so it stimulates the audience interest. Or "Look, a shark." So it's just the way we say things. It's essentially what paralanguage is. Volume is loudness or softness of speaker's voice. Make sure you're kind of balancing it, speaking loud at times, speaking soft, kind of forming that balance. It's important. Rate is at which speaker speaks. Don't speak too fast and don't speak too slow. Find that balance between fast and slow. Maybe during the unnecessary parts, you can speak a little faster. During the necessary parts of speech, you can speak a little faster. But during the necessary part of speech, you can speak a little slower so that your audience can understand it. So when your audience kind of doesn't understand, doesn't really know, then it's probably wise to speak a little slowly, especially on parts your audience might not understand. That when there's parts where it's not really as necessary as the other information, then it's okay to speak a little fastly. Pitch is the highness or lowness of a speaker's voice. So kind of speaking high and low. Vocal variety, change in volume, rate, or pitch. I highly recommend that when you give your speech, that you use a balance. Maybe speaking loud at times, speaking soft at times, speaking fast at times, speaking soft. Just have that balance, because having that balance not only creates better delivery, but it helps keep your audience interested and motivated in your speech. And pauses are brief breaks in speakers' delivery that can enhance clarity of message. It's not okay to have too many pauses because that can kind of do your time and it can make it too long. But I recommend having a few little pauses in between because that allows the audience to absorb what you were saying, and it also allows yourself to have a little minute to think, how is my audience reacting? What can I do differently to help my audience? So it gives you a little time to think, but it also gives your audience time to think. Physical delivery. Posture. Communicate to the audience that you're empowered. When you speak nice and tall and brave, you're kind of showing that you're the one in charge, that you have the authority. Body language includes moving around the room and hand gestures. Try to use a variety of gestures because it can help engage your audience. And even moving around the room is also a good idea because it helps show your audience that you're acknowledging them and that you're using the space. So body movement, hand gestures, moving around the room are all very important. Facial expressions can be used to enhance meaning. Maybe when you smile, you show that you're happy about the topic would be. But you want to avoid overdoing it. Don't smile when you don't need to or underdoing it. Don't frown when you don't need to. And don't use just one expression. Use a variety of expressions. Create a variety. Like I was saying in the previous slide, don't just do one type of volume. Use a variety. And also address self-hesitation. Be mindful of how you present yourself to others. It is important to look nice. It is important to look presentable because how you look to your audience says a lot about who you are as a speaker, and it kind of enhances your credibility when you look nice and presentable. And then other important tips before we end this lecture here is practice effectively and as much as you can. Always ask for feedback from others. Record and listen to yourself speak. And have your delivery is perfected through practice. Thank you all, and I hope you all have a great day.